all of today's and tomorrow's greatest problems. Cure diseases, deal with climate change, lift everybody out of poverty. But we could use exactly the same technology to create a brutal global dictatorship with unprecedented surveillance and inequality and suffering. That's why this is the most important conversation of our time.
Artificial intelligence is everywhere because we now have thinking machines. If you go on social media or online, there's an artificial intelligence engine that decides what to recommend. If you go on Facebook and you're just scrolling through your friend's posts, there's an artificial intelligence engine that's picking which one to show you first and which one to bury. If you try to get insurance, there's an AI engine trying to figure out how risky you are. And if you apply for a job, it's quite possible that an AI engine looks at the resume.
We are made of data. Every one of us is made of data. In terms of how we behave, how we talk, how we love, what we do every day. So computer scientists are developing deep learning algorithms that can learn to identify, classify, and predict patterns within massive amounts of data. We are facing a form of precision surveillance. You could call it algorithmic surveillance, and it means that you cannot go unrecognized. You are always under the watch of algorithms.
Almost all the AI development on the planet today is done by a handful of big technology companies or by a few large governments. If we look at what AI is mostly being developed for, I would say it's killing, spying, and brainwashing. So, we have military AI, we have a whole surveillance apparatus being built using AI by major governments, and we have an advertising industry which is oriented toward recognizing what ads to try to sell to someone.
We humans have come to a fork in the road now. The AI we have today is very narrow. The holy grail of AI research ever since the beginning is to make AI that can do everything better than us. And we've basically built a god. It's going to revolutionize life as we know it. It's incredibly important to take a step back and think carefully about this. What sort of society do we want?
So we're in this historic transformation. Like we're raising this new creature. You have a new offspring of sorts. But just like actual offspring, you don't get to control everything it's going to do.
We are living at this privileged moment where for the first time we will see probably that AI is really going to outcompete humans in many, if not all, important fields. Everything is going to change. A new form of life is emerging. When I was a boy, I thought, how can I maximize my impact? And then it was clear that I have to build something that learns to become smarter than myself, such that I can retire and the smarter thing can further self-improve and solve all the problems that I cannot solve. Multiplying that tiny little bit of creativity that I have into infinity. And that's what has been driving me since then. How am I trying to build a general purpose artificial intelligence? If you want to be intelligent, you have to recognize speech and video and handwriting and faces and all kinds of things. And there we have made a lot of progress. The LSTM neural networks, which we developed in our labs in Munich and in Switzerland, and it's now used for speech recognition and translation and video recognition. They are now in everybody's smartphone. Almost 1 billion iPhones and then over 2 billion Android phones. So we are generating all kinds of useful byproducts on the way to the general goal. The main goal is an artificial general intelligence, an AGI, that can learn to improve the learning algorithm itself. So it basically can learn to improve the way it learns, and it can also recursively improve the way it learns without any limitations except for the basic fundamental limitations of computability. Studies of artificial curiosity, where we are trying to teach this robot to teach itself. What is a baby doing? A baby is curiously exploring its world. That's how it learns how gravity works and how certain things topple and so on. And as it learns to ask questions about the world and as it learns to answer these questions, it becomes a more and more general problem solver. And so our artificial systems are also learning to ask all kinds of questions, not just slavishly try to answer the questions given to them by humans. You have to give AI the freedom to invent its own tasks. If you don't do that, it's not going to become very smart. On the other hand, it's really hard to predict what they are going to do.
For decades, science fiction writers have amazed us, and the coming army of super intelligent and strong machines that will help us or hinder us. From the crazy Daleks of Doctor Who to the funny and human-like androids of Star Trek, everything has been imagined. Today we are living in that future age of robots and artificial intelligence. Today, all those dreams of the past are coming true. Around the world, scientists, engineers, and software creators are bringing to life the fantasy world of the films. Mechanical robots will soon be outdated, with biologically created humanoids implanted with artificial intelligence and connected to each other across the globe. They will self-repair, gather energy from the sun, and live forever. They will be all-knowing and all-powerful, like gods that will walk the earth. And all the time, we humans are blindly following. We are walking away from what millions of years as beings of a natural world into something so unnatural that even the science fiction writers will be amazed. This future world is now inevitable and cannot be stopped. We have no choice but to be part of it, and so we had better be armed with knowledge in order to be better prepared for the circumstances. The greatest brains on Earth today have warned us about the consequences of getting this new technology wrong. They have predicted catastrophe. Prepare to meet your future now. To understand where we are heading, we have to understand the technology. To help us, we will break it down into two parts: robotics and artificial intelligence. As technology stands today, a robot or droid is technically a machine. At some point in the future, it is highly likely that this will change, and our super strong intelligent friends, or foes, will be genetically created from human DNA and programmed at the quantum level. But we will move on to that soon. Robots, at present, are programmed by humans, or even by other computers, to carry out complex tasks automatically. They can be controlled externally with a device or via inbuilt processors. Unlike most science fiction movies, robots are generally not human-like in form. In fact, they are generally constructed with no or little aesthetics in mind, and are designed purely for function in factories and other places of work. Industrial, medical, patient assistance, therapy, swarm robots, drones, and now even nanorobots that can go into the bloodstream. A massive amount of money is also spent by the military in creating battle-useful robots that can do all manner of tasks, from bomb disposal to carrying heavy loads. Increasingly low, and in line with the rise of artificial intelligence, robots are now being made in humanoid form. This helps them to appear more intelligent and on our own level. Some find this less stressful, others find it more terrifying. The sheer amount of money and effort to get to this place in time and technology is awe-inspiring. No one man has created the robot. It takes hundreds of people to design each small piece, hundreds more in the engineering and construction, and hundreds more for the software engineers to create programs to move arms and legs, for sensors such as sight, sound, and even smell. Language skills, awareness of surroundings, task routines, and so much more all have to be taken into account. The process is huge, costly, and time-consuming. And yet, some would say that if we were to put half of the effort into ending poverty in the world and the environment, we would all be better off already. But that aside, it is a massive step in human ingenuity. Whether it proves to be good or bad is yet to be seen. At present, the benefits are there for all to see. Menial tasks can now be taken care of in the workplace, freeing up people. Dangerous tasks in difficult environments, such as nuclear power stations, are now carried out by robots. An increasingly clever part of robotics is the use of knowledge gained from nature. Copying the way birds fly or caterpillars walk have all helped provide us with robots that work better and more efficiently. These are known as bio-inspired robotics. But all of this is actually not new. Automata have actually been around for thousands of years. Ancient civilizations created them to amuse the rich and powerful, in the shape of humans and animals. Over time, These mechanical devices were adapted to help mankind in more practical ways, until eventually electricity and computer technology enabled us to get to where we are today. The very first use of the term robot came about in a play from 1920 by Czech writer Capek. The first truly electronic device was created by British inventor William Gray Walter in 1948. The first programmable robot came 6 years later and was named Unimate. It was simply used to lift hot metal from die casting machines at the Inland Fisher Guide plant of General Motors in New Jersey. Today, robots have replaced hundreds of thousands of humans performing repetitive or dangerous tasks, and even tasks no humans could actually perform, such as in space or under the sea. Robots have found their way to the bottom of the ocean and even into space. But all of this has caused problems, and these are set to become internationally problematic on a much larger scale. Many in society see the rise of the machine as a threat, bringing mass unemployment as they replace more and more skilled workers. In the military, there is a heated debate about the use of robots to actually fight battles instead of humans, and all the ethical questions that arise from giving such power and intelligence to fighting machines. This is not science fiction, this is actually happening today. But things are about to get even more bizarre, because the next stage in robotic evolution mirrors our own even more closely. The use of genetically creating the perfect android from our own DNA. DNA carries all the genetic information about who and what we are. It is us. It is all living organisms. It is made up of two strands of DNA molecules folded into a spiral we call the double helix. Genes are made from different sequences in these strands of the four main genetic components. It's kind of like a very complex form of binary. Scientists can now not only read the code of DNA, they can manipulate it, bend the spirals, and encode data into it. At the moment, the law does not allow them to go too far, but that is all under review at the very highest levels.
JC tried gain flings for the first time the other day. The scent made quite an impression.
And I swear by the moon.
It was like that towel and JC were the only two left on Earth. But they weren't. You can always spot a first-timer. Gain flings with Oxy Boost and Febreze. Seriously good scent. Bye-bye, tough odors. Try Gain Odor Defense.
At Chewy, you can save on all the gifts you need for the gifts that keep on giving. Because while they don't understand why you'd ever leave the house like this, they'll happily hold down the fort while you're gone. Great prices, happy pets. Chewy.
I need gas money, but I don't get paid till next week.
You fine.
What should I do? Don't even stress about it. Just download the Earnin app to get paid early. Get up to $100 a day with no interest or credit check. Download Earnin.
Because scientists can now manipulate DNA in such remarkable ways that go beyond its original purpose, all manner of opportunities arise. DNA-based materials are now being used to create nanorobots that can carry precise levels of drugs to diseased cells in the human body. This is DNA created in the form of a barrel of two halves with a hinge. When the cells recognize diseased cells, the hinge is open, the barrel, and delivers its cargo of drugs directly into the bad cell. Healthy cells are therefore unharmed. Researchers have even designed nanothermometers that are ultra-sensitive and can find tiny hotspots in living cells. These are created using loops of DNA that act as switches by folding and unfolding when the temperature changes. It is this precise invention of using DNA to create minute switches that has changed things, because DNA structures can actually be used as a kind of on and off switch. In fact, it becomes like a computer using binary information. Scientists have now created DNA nanorobots that can now communicate with each other using DNA switches. These nano-DNA robots were then implanted into a cockroach, and this allowed them to create a biological computer. Testing on humans is planned. We touched on earlier about how from the very beginning robotics has copied the natural world. Now, through the understanding of DNA, scientists can create genetic robots from the actual animal's DNA itself and reprogram it. This can happen at the nanoscale. An example is how plants and animals convert solar energy, or light, into chemical energy through photosynthesis. Scientists copied this process and manipulated DNA to capture light and convert the energy. Imagine a genetic robot that is its own solar panel. Imagine DNA light catching and converting molecules being built into almost anything. Super efficient, abundant sources of energy. Imagine a genetically cloned and reprogrammed humanoid robot with a constant energy source, self-repairing, always learning. All it needs now is true artificial intelligence. And this is where the world is suddenly becoming more and more interesting. Artificial intelligence, also known as simply AI, is intelligence exhibited by machines, whether mechanical or genetic. To scientists, AI is any device that can perceive its own environment and take action within it. To the rest of us, AI is when a machine becomes so clever that we can no longer tell whether it is machine or human. It must be aware, have cognitive functions such as learning, and solve problems. Over time, the idea of what AI is has been changing. It was once thought that optical character recognition was a sign of intelligence. Now, however, even mobile phone apps can recognize characters, and yet a mobile phone is not artificially intelligent. In this way, items are slowly being removed from the list of what artificial intelligence is. Eventually, it is thought there will be nothing left on the list, and we will truly have AI. As it stands, scientists are working on various elements to tick off the list. Understanding human speech, driverless cars, planes and trains, playing strategy games and military simulations, and the interpretation of complex data. All of these elements are now within reach or have been achieved. The understanding of complex data has already put thousands of people out of work in banks and other businesses. Driverless trucks and cars will do the same. The world of AI is very complicated and is divided into various elements. Each element focuses on its own field, and it is hoped one day they will all join up to create the perfect artificially intelligent mind. The main issues at the moment are the abilities to reason, to gain true knowledge, to plan, understand and speak natural languages, perception of the environment, and the ability to move and manipulate things within it. There are a variety of methods being used to get around these issues. Statistical and complex computation, computer learning from our actions and more. All of the methods will most likely be used to eventually generate true AI mind. But it is problematic. Computer learning from humans has caused problems. Racism and even violence have been picked up as a normal part of human behaviour, and AI started to do the same. This is what happens when pure mathematical, statistical, logical learning is used. After all, how do you write down in mathematics things such as compassion and empathy? A lot of humans don't have such things, so how do we program them into robots? The answer may very well lay within the DNA genetic future humanoid, and not the mechanical chip and gear version. It may also lay within the realm of quantum computer technology implanted within DNA, and an artificial biological brain placed within a mechanical structure. At the moment, researchers are keen to teach the IA brain computer science and mathematics, but also philosophy, psychology and neuroscience, in the hope that it will begin to understand itself. It was claimed that human intelligence could be precisely described in mathematical terms, and therefore a machine would be able to simulate it. That idea has turned out to be not as simple as first thought. The human mind is much more complex than most mathematical models could work out, and so the process is slow, going through each element of the human mind and learning. The computer learns through algorithms, and it is hoped one day to begin to see more of a human intelligence in it than simply knowledge of logic. In truth, all of this raises many philosophical questions about the nature of the mind itself. Not to mention the ethics of creating a self-aware mind, playing God. All of these questions and more have been explored in science fiction for decades. Will AI be a danger to mankind? It all depends on how we proceed. And because there are many people around the world working on it and racing against each other, almost anything could happen. Imagine a self-aware, super-intelligent mind let loose upon the internet. With all that knowledge of everything humans have discovered, created and done, what would it do? Would it decide we are a threat to its own existence and that of the planet, and therefore try to wipe us out? Some very intelligent people think that is a possibility. Recently, machine learning is being spoken of as a sub-element of artificial intelligence. This is not a self-aware machine, but one that constantly learns from every input. These have been set free in the world of games to see how humans react to each other, and it has even played the game and been very ruthless. There is a massive multi-billion-dollar race on to create the best AI. The payback will be huge because it will be used everywhere. From driverless cars and drones to mobile phones and more. Potentially, machines with intelligence have the ability to make ethical decisions and could thus outdate us. Scientist Stephen Hawking said, "The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. Once humans develop artificial intelligence, it will take off on its own and redesign itself at an ever-increasing rate. Humans, who are limited by slow biological evolution, couldn't compete and would be superseded." He was not alone in this. Bill Gates and Elon Musk also voiced their concerns. In truth, we only have to look at human history to know that all will not be well. When we split the atom, we discovered a possible free energy source. But mankind took it and abused it by creating the nuclear bomb. Being knowledgeable and super intelligent, but stupid humans have created it, and it is learning from us. Will it try to acquire resources and protect itself from us? We have to be very careful what we ask of this new technology. The fact is that quantum computing is so much faster than human thinking. Any so-called science fiction battle against the machines in cyberspace would be a waste of time for us. If AI is let loose upon the internet, it could shut down the world and billions would die. It is that serious, and we have come to rely upon the interconnectedness of the world's computer systems that much. Think about it. Power, health services, government, distribution of goods, education, satellites, communication, military, and so much more. All of these things are now connected to the net. An attack upon services happened in 2017 and reduced the national health services in the United Kingdom down to a shambles for days. All computer systems went down. Hospitals were in crisis, operations cancelled, emergency services overstretched. All because of one small hack by some kid in a dark room. Now imagine a mind faster than all the humans ever, and with knowledge of everything. We wouldn't stand a chance. But we don't always need to worry about the threat of the artificial mind. We have enough human craziness to compete with. Most of the research into robotics and AI is funded by the military of the world. There are over 50 countries spending trillions on battlefield robots, AI-led battle technology, and more. Who is going to stop the US or Russia from developing artificially intelligent super robotic soldiers? You? Me? Chances are somebody somewhere has already created a genetically enhanced clone of a human being and is even now enhancing its intellectual powers, energy consumption, and creation. Genetic repairing and interconnectedness with central command. Not science fiction, but highly likely. The technology is there, which means it's being done, just not legally. Hundreds of years ago, a group of scientists got together to place science firmly in the world of humanity. They were what became known as the Royal Society. Their aim was to explain existence in scientific terms, to understand what they called God's creation better. Now, years later, their legacy is the scientific world we have around us. And now, that aim to understand the world around us has turned inwards to ourselves.